47 seconds. That is all it took. 47 seconds for Marjorie Taylor Greene to sit completely frozen after Congressman Ted Lieu set a single printed document on the table and said 4 words she was not prepared for in that hearing room. Explain these stock trades. Not a complicated request, not a trick question. Just 4 words and a disclosure form that showed exactly what she was buying, exactly when she was buying it, and exactly how many hours separated her last purchase from the announcement that sent the entire market into one of its biggest single-day rallies in history. Watch what happens when Lieu reads the timestamps out loud. Watch Greene's face. Watch her attorneys exchange a look that says everything her silence refuses to say. And watch 47 seconds of complete stillness from one of the loudest, most combative members of Congress in a generation. You need to see this until the very end, because what Lieu uncovered is not just about stock trades. It is about what she knew, when she knew it, who told her, and why she told the American public to stop panicking 2 days before she spent $250,000 betting that the panic was about to end. If you are new to this channel, subscribe right now and turn on notifications. This hearing just became the most important testimony of the year, and you need to see every second of what happened next. Let me set the scene for you. House Oversight Committee, Room 2154. Tuesday morning, 10:17 a.m. Eastern Time. The room was already packed when Marjorie Taylor Greene arrived, every seat taken. Journalists pressed against the back wall 3 rows deep, cameras locked at every angle. This was not a routine session, and everyone in that room knew it. The committee had been trying to get Greene in this chair for 6 weeks. Her legal team had delayed, rescheduled, and negotiated the parameters of the session down to the specific categories of questions she would allow. They thought they had drawn the boundaries. They had not drawn them around Ted Lieu. For those who do not know Lieu, he is not a politician who performs outrage for the cameras. He is a United States Air Force judge, Advocate General Corps veteran, a military prosecutor. 2 decades building cases from documents, not from speeches. He does not raise his voice because he does not need to. He raises paper. He sets it down flat so the cameras can see every line. And then he asks one question that the paper has already answered. Greene's legal team had prepared for confrontation. They had prepared for theatrics. They had prepared for the kind of partisan sparring that Greene has made her entire brand. They had not prepared for a man who was simply going to read her own financial disclosures back to her, date by date, trade by trade, dollar by dollar, and then ask her to explain the timing. Greene arrived the way she always arrives. That stride, shoulders back, chin forward, the practiced posture of someone who has been in hostile rooms before and never once flinched. She sat at the witness table with 4 attorneys behind her and 2 senior aides to her left. She checked her phone before the session opened. She looked more than once almost bored. She has done this 40 times. She knows how to run out the clock. She knows how to turn a question into a speech. She knows how to fight back hard enough that the questioner becomes the story instead of the answer. She thought she knew how today ended. She was wrong. The first 30 minutes were exactly what Greene expected. Other committee members went through their questions. Standard back and forth about committee assignments, procedural matters, the kind of grinding congressional procedure that fills time without drawing blood. Greene handled it with the easy confidence of someone who has been doing this for 5 years. Sharp, short answers, a smile that says, "I have already won this argument before you finished asking it." She was comfortable, relaxed. She thought the worst was already behind her. Then Ted Lieu took the microphone. "Congresswoman Greene." His voice was quiet. The particular kind of quiet that military prosecutors use. Not aggressive, not theatrical, just precise. The quiet that makes every person in a room lean forward slightly because they understand instinctively that what comes next matters. The room shifted. Journalists stopped typing mid-sentence. Camera operators locked their angles. Even Greene's lead attorney, a silver-haired man in his late 50s who had been scrolling his phone during the earlier questions, put his phone face down on the table. "I want to show you a document before I ask my first question." He reached into the folder without looking down. One clean motion. He had rehearsed this. The document came out and Lieu set it face up on the table in front of him, positioned at an angle the document camera could capture completely. House Financial Disclosure Form. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, Georgia 14th District. Filed April 23, 2025. Transaction dates April 8th and April 9th. 19 separate stock purchases. Apple, Amazon, Nike, Tesla, Nvidia, Palantir, Lululemon, FedEx, J.P. Morgan Chase, Qualcomm, Dell, and 8 others. Total estimated value between $21,000 and $315,000. All purchased during the 2-day window when American markets were experiencing some of their worst single-day losses since the COVID pandemic. Lieu looked up from the document. "Congresswoman, on April 7th, 2 days before these trades cleared, you made a public statement." He pulled out a second sheet, a printed screenshot. "Your own words, posted publicly and widely reported." He read it aloud. Quote, "People panicking over the tariffs are losers and failures." You said that publicly, on the record, while the markets were collapsing and Americans were watching their retirement accounts fall. He set the screenshot down next to the disclosure form. 2 days later, you spent up to $315,000 buying stocks at the bottom of that same market. He paused. "And then, on April 9th, hours after your last trade cleared, President Trump announced a 90-day pause on most tariffs. The market rallied, one of the biggest single-day gains in years, and every stock you had just purchased went up immediately." He looked at her directly. "Congresswoman Greene, I have one question. What did you know on April 8th that the American public did not know?" Silence. Not a brief pause. The thick, heavy silence of someone who has just watched 2 documents placed side by side and understood exactly what they say together. Greene's hands, which had been resting loosely on the table, went flat, pressed down, the tendons along her knuckles visible from 3 feet away. Her lead attorney leaned forward immediately. His chair scraped. "Congresswoman Greene has a signed fiduciary agreement with her financial advisor. All trades were executed independently by that advisor based on publicly available information. This line of questioning incorrectly implies, I am going to stop you right there." Lieu's voice had not changed at all. He held up one hand. Calm. The traffic stopping gesture. "Your client can answer for herself." He looked back at Greene. "The attorney-client privilege does not cover a congressional oversight proceeding, and a fiduciary agreement does not explain the timing." He picked up the disclosure form again. April 8th, April 9th. Then the tariff pause announcement, then the market rally, then the profits. He set it back down. That is not a legal theory. That is a calendar. If you have made it this far and this matters to you, subscribe right now and turn on notifications. What Lieu pulls out next is the document that no cable network covered in full. The piece of this that changes everything. Stay with this until the end. Greene finally spoke. Her voice was controlled, practiced, the voice of someone who has been coached for exactly this moment. Congressman, I have been fully transparent about my financial activities. Every trade has been publicly disclosed within the legally required time frame. My financial advisor manages my portfolio independently, and I have no involvement in individual buy or sell decisions. I have signed a fiduciary agreement, and I have no knowledge of specific trades before they are made. Lieu nodded slowly. He wrote something on the notepad in front of him. He did not say anything for a moment. Then he looked up. You just said you have no knowledge of specific trades before they are made. He picked up the disclosure form one more time. He did not hold it toward her. He held it toward the cameras. April 8th. 19 companies. Up to $315,000. He set it down. Your financial advisor bought 19 different stocks in 2 days during a market crash. He timed the bottom of that crash within hours of a presidential announcement that nobody was supposed to know about in advance. And you are telling this committee that was a coincidence. Greene's attorney tried again. Congressman, the implication that Lieu held up his hand again. One finger. I did not imply anything. He reached into the folder. He pulled out a third document. Let me show you what I am actually saying. Pay close attention to what happens next. This is the moment everything changed. This document, Lieu said, is a FinCEN financial intelligence report obtained through a House Oversight Committee request filed 11 days ago. He held it up briefly, then set it flat on the table facing the cameras. The report documents a pattern of trading activity in the 48-hour window preceding the tariff pause announcement. It identifies 17 accounts that made significant equity purchases during the market downturn and then realized immediate gains following the announcement. He opened it to a specific page. Of those 17 accounts, 3 are associated with members of Congress or their immediate family members. He looked up. Your account is one of the 3. A murmur moved through the room, not loud. The low-controlled sound of journalists and committee members absorbing something they had not expected. He continued. The report notes, and I am quoting directly, that the trading pattern in these 3 accounts is, quote, statistically inconsistent with typical retail investor behavior during equivalent market volatility events. End quote. He set the report down. Statistically inconsistent. That is the language federal financial investigators use when the numbers do not match any innocent explanation. Greene's lead attorney was on his feet. Mr. Chairman, I must object to the characterization of an unverified. I would like to see the committee's authority for obtaining this report without proper notification to the subject of the inquiry. The chairman leaned forward. Counselor, the committee issued a formal document request under House Rule 11. Your client's office received notification on the same date the request was filed. The attorney sat down slowly. He was writing something. His handwriting was fast and slightly uneven. A tell. Lieu had not moved. He was still looking at Greene. Not angry, not triumphant, patient. The patience of someone who spent 20 years in military courtrooms and understands that the most important moments are the ones where you do nothing. Now I need to stop for a second. If this investigation matters to you, if you believe members of Congress should not be able to profit from information the American public does not have, hype this video right now. The hype button is right next to like. You can hype 3 times a day for free. We have 7 days to get this into the top 100 most hyped videos on YouTube. Every single hype counts. Do it now. Then keep watching, because what Lieu reads next is the part that silenced even the Republicans on that committee. Lieu reached back into the folder. He pulled out a 4th document, 2 pages, dense with numbers and dates. He did not hold it up immediately. He looked at it for a moment. Then he looked at Greene. "Congresswoman, I want to talk about Palantir." The room went slightly still at that name. Palantir Technologies. Defense and intelligence contractor. Data analytics platform used by federal law enforcement agencies, including U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. On April 8th and 9th, your account purchased between $1,000 and $30,000 worth of Palantir stock. He held up the disclosure form again, found the line, turned it toward the cameras. "There it is. Palantir. April 8th. He set it back down. He picked up the 4th document. "This is a federal contract announcement, published by usaspending.gov, date April 16th, 2025, 7 days after your Palantir purchase." He read from it. "Contract award to Palantir Technologies, Inc., Contracting Agency, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Contract value $30 million. He set the document down. $30 million. 7 days after you bought the stock. He looked at her. "Congresswoman Greene, you serve on the House Committee on Homeland Security." He pulled out one more sheet. Committee jurisdiction list. He read one line. "The House Homeland Security Committee exercises oversight authority over the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and its component agencies, including U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement." He set it down. "You oversee ICE. ICE awarded Palantir a $30 million contract 7 days after you bought Palantir stock." He paused. "Was there any discussion of a Palantir contract in any Homeland Security Committee briefing, closed or open, before April 8th? Greene did not answer. Her lead attorney was writing again. Fast. The second attorney, a woman in her early 50s with very still eyes, had leaned forward and was whispering something directly into Greene's ear. Greene was listening. Her face had not changed, but something behind her eyes had shifted. The calculation happening in real time. Lieu waited. He was very good at waiting. "Was there a briefing, Congresswoman? Yes or no?" Congresswoman Greene, her lead attorney, said, "I advise you not to answer questions that may require disclosure of classified committee proceedings without proper review by committee counsel." Lieu turned to the chairman. "Mr. Chairman, the witness's attorney is instructing her not to answer a yes or no question about whether a committee briefing occurred. Not about the contents, not about classified information, whether a briefing occurred. That is not classified information. The existence of committee meetings is public record." The chairman nodded. "The witness will answer the question. Was there a Homeland Security Committee briefing that referenced Palantir prior to April 8th? Greene looked at her attorney. He looked back at her. He gave a very small nod. "Permission." Greene cleared her throat. There are regular briefings on a wide range of subjects related to committee jurisdiction. I cannot confirm or deny the specific subjects of classified briefings in this setting." Lieu looked at her for a moment. Then he looked at the committee. She cannot confirm or deny whether a briefing about a company existed, not the contents, not the classification level. Whether it existed, he let that sit in the air. Then he reached into the folder one final time. "Drop a comment right now. Tell me what you think that answer means." Because what Lieu puts on the table next was not in any document Greene's legal team had seen before this morning. The final document was a single page. Lieu held it up long enough for every camera in the room to capture it, then set it flat on the table. "This," he said, "is a timeline. It was prepared by the committee's financial oversight staff. It has 6 entries. He read them one at a time, slowly, letting each one land completely before moving to the next. Entry 1, March 31st, 2025. House Homeland Security Committee holds classified briefing on ICE technology modernization priorities. Palantir Technologies referenced as a primary vendor under active contract review. Congresswoman Greene is listed as an attendee. Entry 2, April 2nd, 2025. President Trump announces Liberation Day tariffs. Global markets begin to fall sharply. Entry 3, April 7th, 2025. Congresswoman Greene posts publicly that people panicking over the tariffs are, quote, losers and failures. Entry 4, April 8th and 9th, 2025. 19 stock purchases totaling between $21,000 and $315,000. Palantir included. All purchases made during continued market decline. Entry 5, April 9th, 2025, afternoon. President Trump announces 90-day tariff pause. Markets rally immediately. All 19 stocks purchased by Greene's account increase in value. Entry 6, April 16th, 2025. ICE awards Palantir a $30 million federal contract. Palantir stock rises further. Lieu set the timeline down. The room was completely silent. Not the charged silence of people waiting for the next explosion. The deep, still silence of a room where every person has just watched 6 dates line up in a sequence that does not have a coincidental explanation. You could hear the ventilation system above the fluorescent lights. You could hear a camera operator shifting weight somewhere to the right. You could hear Greene swallowing. Lieu did not raise his voice. He had not raised it once in the entire proceeding. He looked at Greene. "Congresswoman, 2 years ago you went on national television and said the following." He pulled out the final sheet from his folder, a printed transcript. He read from it, quote, "Any member of Congress who uses their position to profit while the American people suffer deserves to be removed from office, period. No exceptions." End quote. He set the transcript down. "You said that on camera, on the record, before millions of people." He picked up the timeline and held it next to the transcript so the cameras could see both. "March 31st, you attend a classified briefing about Palantir. April 7th, you tell the public the panic is for losers. April 8th and 9th, you buy the dip. April 9th, the announcement that ends the panic. April 16th, the Palantir contract." He set both documents down. That is not a coincidence. That is a calendar, and calendars do not lie. "Congresswoman Greene, I am going to ask you one direct question. One question that a single honest answer could resolve in 30 seconds. Did you purchase Palantir stock with knowledge that a Homeland Security Committee briefing had identified Palantir as a primary vendor under active contract review? 47 seconds. Multiple people in that room counted it independently. 47 seconds, where Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the most combative politicians of the past decade, said absolutely nothing. Her hands were flat on the table. Her attorneys were both writing. The second attorney had stopped whispering. Everyone in that room was completely still. Then Greene spoke. Her voice was quieter than anyone expected. I categorically deny any suggestion that my financial activities were influenced by non-public information. My financial advisor manages my portfolio independently. All trades were made based on publicly available information. I have followed every legal disclosure requirement. Every single trade is on the public record. Lieu nodded. He wrote something on his notepad. He looked at it for a moment. Then he looked back up. You just used the phrase publicly available information twice. He picked up the timeline one more time. March 31st, classified briefing. He looked at her. Classified information is, by definition, not publicly available. He set it down. You attended that briefing. Palantir was discussed. 8 days later, your account bought Palantir stock. That information was not available to the American public on April 8th. He paused. Your financial advisor may have made the trade, but the briefing was yours. Greene's lead attorney stood up fully this time. Mr. Chairman, my client is going to invoke her Fifth Amendment right and decline to answer any further questions relating to the April transactions or any Homeland Security Committee briefing contents. The room erupted, not metaphorically, literally. Shouting from the gallery. 2 journalists standing up simultaneously. Camera operators scrambling for Greene's face. The chairman's gavel banging hard enough to echo. Order! Order in this chamber! Greene sat completely still through all of it. Her face had not gone the angry red it usually goes when she is cornered. It had gone the other direction. Pale. The kind of pale that does not come from studio lights or air conditioning. Lieu did not react to the eruption. He waited until the chairman restored order. Then he looked at Greene one final time. The Fifth Amendment. He said it quietly, almost to himself. He looked at the cameras. The congresswoman who told the American public that panicking was for losers. The congresswoman who attended a classified briefing about Palantir. The congresswoman who bought Palantir stock 8 days later. The congresswoman whose account made up to $315,000 in trades the day before a presidential announcement that nobody was supposed to know about. She is invoking her Fifth Amendment right because answering questions about her stock trades might incriminate her. He gathered his documents, all of them, in the same precise order he had laid them out. These documents will be entered into the congressional record today. The disclosure form, the FinCEN report, the Palantir contract announcement, the committee attendance record, the timeline, every date, every dollar amount, every trade. The American people will see this with their own eyes, and they will draw their own conclusions. He looked at Greene one last time. You told the people who were watching their retirement accounts fall that they were losers for being afraid. And while they were afraid, you were buying. He picked up the folder. That is in the record now, permanently, and it will not go away. He stepped back from the microphone. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. The hearing technically continued after that. Other representatives asked other questions, procedural matters, something about committee resources. None of it mattered. Nobody was listening. Nobody cared. Because Ted Lieu, a military prosecutor from California, had just laid 6 dates on a table in sequence and asked one question that the woman sitting across from him answered with 47 seconds of silence and then the Fifth Amendment. Within minutes, the clips were everywhere. Lieu reading the timeline, date by date. Lieu holding up the Palantir contract next to the stock disclosure. Greene sitting in silence with both hands pressed flat on the table. Legal analysts were already discussing whether the Fifth Amendment invocation in a congressional hearing constitutes an admission for purposes of a parallel criminal referral. Financial law experts were debating whether the Stock Act's disclosure requirements were sufficient to address the kind of timing pattern Lieu had laid out. And somewhere in the offices of the Securities and Exchange Commission, where Senators Warren and Schumer had already sent their formal investigation request weeks earlier, someone was probably pulling up the same disclosure forms Lieu had just entered into the congressional record. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not speculation. This is a public financial disclosure form, a FinCEN report, a federal contract announcement, a committee attendance record, and a 6-entry timeline. All of it entered into the congressional record. All of it permanently public. All of it asking the same question in 6 different ways. What did she know on April 8th that the American public did not know? Share this video everywhere. This conversation needs to reach people who have not seen it yet. The pressure cannot stop. The SEC investigation request is already filed. The FinCEN report is in the congressional record. The question of what was discussed in that March 31st classified briefing is now a matter of formal congressional inquiry. And the woman who told the American people that panic was for losers invoked the Fifth Amendment rather than explain why she was buying stocks while they were panicking. Subscribe now. Hit the bell. And if you missed how Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez connected these same trades to 3 other members of Congress in a separate proceeding last week, watch the video on screen right now. Same pattern. Same timing, same silence. The truth comes out one disclosure form at a time, one classified briefing at a time, one 47-second silence at a time. March 31st, April 7th, April 8th and 9th, April 9th afternoon, April 16th. 6 dates, 1 question. And Marjorie Taylor Greene sitting there with the Fifth Amendment and nowhere left to go.